I'm Josiah Pritchett.
And I'm John Pritchett.
And I'm Maisy Pritchett.
Welcome to the GameCast.
So, here's what we're going to do in this podcast. My son, Josiah, and my daughter, Maisy, are fans of video games. Josiah more than Maisy, right?
I only like the Switch and the Wii U.
So Maisy's really just here for sidebar entertainment. But we are going to talk about technology, and we're going to talk specifically about video games, and kind of go over some reviews of some items. We're going to talk about some history of some video games.
What Joe did to his video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the things Joe did along the way to maybe break a few consoles.
He knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right, so what do you think we should talk about for the very first episode?
I think the Wii. My first ever video game system.
Your first ever video game system. All right, so what's the history of the Wii? I mean, it's a pretty cool system.
Okay, so it was first released on November 19th in North America and other dates for the rest of the world.
What year?
2006.
2006. How old were you in 2006?
I wasn't born.
You weren't even in my mom's tummy. I was like that was way before my time. I was born in 2012, so that was way before my time.
So, if it's 2020 now, how many years ago was that?
20, yeah, that was 15 years ago.
14 years. Oh, yeah, 2021. So, it's about, not quite. Going to be 15 years, but 14 and a half years ago.
14 and a half years ago.
So, why did they release the Wii? Because that was a pretty different console from anything that existed before.
Like, it's low definition, doesn't run as smooth. The reason is because the president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, he noticed that gaming was becoming more and more exclusive, and he wanted it to be less limited, not less limited, less exclusive. So he decided to make a system that anybody could pick up and play whenever, and just enjoy. So he made it on cheap hardware.
Joe?
Yeah?
Is the Wii like the Wii U? Like, does it have the same gamepad?
No, it is a very different system. All you have is your Wii remote, which you can use with the Wii U.
Well, I have a question. So what do you mean you can pick up and bring it anywhere? You can't bring it anywhere.
No, I mean, I didn't say you could pick up and bring it anywhere. You can pick up and play it whenever,
You didn't have to know how to use a video game console to use the Wii U. You know, the Wii U, well, first of all, before we get into it, because my grandmother, who's your grandnan, she even used the Wii U when she was when she was in her mid-80s, and she'd never played a video game before. But what made the Wii so different, do you think?
I think that for starters, it was the only home console during that console generation that was not HD. As PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, they all went HD. Well, the Wii was not HD, which I can kind of understand. They wanted to make it off cheap hardware. Also, it's different.
So if it was cheaper, more people could buy it.
Yeah. And
not just gamers, because only gamers bought the other ones mostly, right?
Yeah, because now I bet all of you watching have at least a tiny video game in your house.
Yeah, and it's also different. The shape is different. It's sort of like a really thin square.
Do we have a Wii?
So you could put it anywhere.
We had one, but we'll get into that later. So. And the controller was weird. A lot of people actually didn't like the design and thought it.
What was so different about the controller?
It was. It looked like a TV remote, and I guess that was the point, as the name channels, as in TV channels. So I guess that was the point.
I'll get the remote.
Yeah. So you go get it. They. Although you could have all these accessories like the nunchuck that sort of just added a little circle.
So how did the controller work?
Okay, so
was it was motion control, right?
Yeah, it was motion controls. It popularized motion controls. And
had there been motion control before?
Yes, there had mostly 6-axis, which was different. It wasn't as sensitive, but
okay. And I think what really changed things with the Wii U was the Wii, was the ability to just take the controller And with very little effort, if you wanted to go bowling, you would just flick it. If you wanted to play baseball, you'd swing it. If you wanted to...
if you wanted to box, you just got your nunchuck, which was included with the system. Yeah, and...
Yep.
So yeah, this is the Wii Remote. I'm just going to take this sleeve off because it feels awkward.
I'm a gamer.
Yeah, she's our little gamer. Introduced her to Mario 3D World and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, me and my friend beat it.
So this is a this is a Wii Remote. It's, as you can see, it's way different than other controllers. I'm not going to bring another controller, but like, take the PS4 for example. It has a pretty basic controller. You know, you just have it. You have your shoulder buttons. You have your main buttons. Your D-pad or your D-pad. Your 2 analog sticks, and all of that. Your home button. But the Wii, this Wii controller is a little different. It has, yes, your D-pad, but no analog stick. That was...
See, it's special. Like...
Okay, so the nunchuck, so yeah, you just, this added a little analog stick, but the original controller didn't have it. And you may think A and B. No, 1 and 2. This is your A button right here. The B button was all the way on the back. And
so you show the different ways you could use that controller. So you could use it like we showed for motion control.
Yeah, like, or you could also point at the screen used for games like Trauma Center, Second Opinion,
or
TV Show King, World of Goo.
Yeah, and then you could also use it like a traditional, right?
Yeah, just like sort of like an
NES
NES
forward
controller.
so people can see you using it that way.
Yeah. So you just
hold it like that and use it like a traditional controller.
Yeah.
So people who knew how to game could use it more traditionally, but they could put more games out that were just really kind of pointing it around and using it to control things like that, right?
Another way you could use it was like this, with the nunchuck. So yeah, you could either do like this, like in Wii Sports Boxing, or you could just use it like this, like you do in something like first-person shooters, like Metroid Prime, GoldenEye, Call of Duty, and also, what is that game called?
Well, you could also, like Legend of Zelda,
you
could move around because you'd use the nunchuck to move the character around.
Yeah, and then you use this to swing
fight.
the sword. Yeah.
So, was the controller the biggest revolutionary thing about it? I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Because, like, now I know, like, a lot of people that aren't used to video games are not too familiar with your average controller, like DualShock or the Xbox controller. I don't know what that's called.
And so the controllers were revolutionary, and then you said they used cheaper hardware so more people could buy it. And then the console came out in 2006. Was it a hit?
Yes, it sold incredibly well. The reviews were mixed.
Yeah.
Were skeptical.
But reviews don't matter if the public like it.
Yeah, like critics.
Yeah, critics don't matter if the public like it.
If the public likes it, like, it sold amazingly well. It's become Nintendo. It's the 4th best-selling home console of all time. And
4th best-selling Nintendo or any type of console?
Just home console.
No, but just Nintendo home console or any home console?
It's their highest-selling console of all time.
It's Nintendo's highest of all time?
Well, their home console, their best-selling console of all time is the Nintendo DS, released a year before that in 2005.
Okay. But what about from a console point of view, home console, it's Nintendo's best-selling, and then what consoles have sold more than the Wii for other companies?
The PlayStation 2, which is actually the highest-selling any sort of console of all time.
Yeah.
Ooh, we have a
PlayStation. And that's it.
Do we have a PlayStation?
So,
yeah.
But I thought you said it was the 4th best-selling home console of all time.
No, the 4th best-selling console, I think, actually.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hey, maybe we should research it.
Okay.
So what were some of while I researched that, what were some of the best-selling games?
Some of the best, I don't know what the best-selling games were, but I know some of the best games were Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, the Mario Galaxy games, and Galaxy 2 is...
the Mario games?
Like,
I don't know how you're not saying Mario games.
Like New Super Mario Bros. Wii was I love that game. It's so fun.
I'm gonna try it.
I don't have that game.
Oh yeah.
I have you on the Wii U. So
you have me.
No, it's just okay. So also there was what else? There was Wii Sports, which was packaged with the Wii and has become such a huge game. Like,
Wii Sports is my favorite.
Anybody can pick up and play. Like,
Or TV
people are always saying how like their grandma plays Wii Sports.
So your grandnan, your great grandmother, born in the 1920s, played Wii Sports. She loved bowling. She would bowl and she would say, "Give me a break," as she went, as she's trying to hope to get a good score. And so I looked it up, and the Wii is the 4th best-selling home console. The best-selling is the PlayStation 2, and then the PlayStation 4, and then the PlayStation, and then the Wii.
And just below it and actually the two ones that are below it were the systems it was competing with, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360.
So what generation of console is the Wii considered?
Well, let's see. Are you going by like what time they were made or the console wars? Because technically the console wars weren't with the NES because it didn't have really any competition.
Oh, well, I'm looking on the Wii there, and it says it's a 7th generation.
7th generation of consoles.
But then in the console wars, what was it? What gen?
Then it would have been, I think, let's see.
3rd gen?
Wait, let's see. 1, 2, 3. 4th gen.
4th gen? Right on. So what was it competing against? So they put out this great console that had unique features that more people could figure out how to use the controls who weren't just gamers.
Yeah.
And it was cheap. And what was it competing against?
It was competing against the PlayStation 3, which was PlayStation's big next console. They had 2 hits before that, both of which were in the best-selling console of all time for a bit. Well, PlayStation 2, to this day, it's the best-selling console of all time. So yeah, the PlayStation 3 was basically the successor to the PlayStation 2. At launch, it was terrible. Nobody was buying it. They had an awkward E3 presentation. The price point was so high. And it had a lack of hit launch titles. In fact, its best launch title was Resistance Fall Man, which apparently is a great game, but like it doesn't have great competition.
So it was up against the PlayStation 3 and which Xbox?
The Xbox 360. You had that one.
I did. We had all of them at one time or another. But the Wii sold 101 million units. The Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3 sold 87 million, and the Xbox 360 84 million. So you could say that Nintendo won that round.
Yep.
Now theirs was a lot cheaper, so I bet you the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 had more sales dollars, but the Wii got into more homes, didn't it?
Yeah. And the Xbox 360. I talked about the PlayStation 3 like briefly, so Xbox 360. Again, the launch wasn't great. Not because it sold bad. It actually sold quite well. And as you can see, my dad has found out it's actually one of the best-selling consoles of all time. And eventually the PS3 sold well.
Yep.
But, the 360, it had one huge problem. And that wasn't just it was rushed. The red ring of death.
I had a an Xbox 360 that had a red ring of death.
Yeah, so you obviously have the original. You had the original model, but
that's right.
Eventually got the slim model, which is
what is the red ring of death, Joe?
The red ring of death.
Is it a big red ring that comes and gets you when you're not looking? No. Okay.
No, it is. So you've seen an Xbox 360 before, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, it just when it's on, it has a green ring around it.
Well, if it breaks, if it's somehow broken, it red rings. So the reason for that was it was rushed. So instead of fixing it from breaking, it did an indicator when it did break. Now eventually they released the Slim, which was a way better version.
The hardware was better, right?
The hardware was better. It's way less likely to red ring, but yeah, and it eventually became one of the best-selling consoles of all time.
Let me get straight. So there was like a green ring around it.
Red ring, when it was on.
Well, green when it was working. Around the button that you press to power it on, there was a green ring that went around it, and that green ring would turn red when the console was not going to work anymore.
So it's called called the Ring of Death.
Red Ring.
It was called the what?
The Red Ring of Death.
The Red Ring of Death. Yeah.
Did that cause it to break really quickly?
Yeah, it did. It broke way quicker than it should have.
Well, it's actually not it doesn't break because of the red ring. That's the indication that it broke.
Yeah.
Hey Joe, why don't you tell us about how you broke your Wii?
Well, hang on.
Hang on.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that story.
So, the Wii comes out in 2006. And it does really well. And a whole bunch of people who have never had video games before
got into
video games.
Including me.
Including you. And a bunch of different people could now game out there. Mm-hmm. So, it was competing against the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. I have a story about the Nintendo Wii. Okay. So, do you know what I did where I worked when the Wii came out?
Zellers.
I worked at Zellers. And that's a store, kind of like a Walmart store or Target store.
So it had basically electronics and stuff.
Yeah, it had an electronics department. And when the Wii came out, it was so popular that Christmas of 2006 that nobody could get their hands on one. So we decided that we were going to, at our Zellers store, I was the manager, and we were going to, when we got Nintendo Wiis in, we were going to put them aside in a locked room and keep holding them because you'd only get 2 every time they came in. And so many people wanted one, and you just have to be lucky enough to happen to be there when the 2 came in at a time. So every week, starting in the summer, every time we got a shipment, we wouldn't sell it. We'd put it in a locked room. And eventually we got 50 or 60 Nintendo Wiis. Now, they were so popular that
it sold out.
Well,
just like that.
Well, it did, but I'll tell you how we sold it. So we wanted to give people a chance to buy them, and we were in Guelph, Ontario at the time. Mm-hmm. And so what we did was we had a helicopter, and we dressed somebody up like Santa Claus, and we put them in his sack, although we put some in and we kept the rest in the store. Mm-hmm. And we put out a newspaper ad that said Santa Claus was going to arrive from the North Pole with Nintendo Wiis on a certain day, and that you could come and watch Santa Claus land in the parking lot in a helicopter, and he would come out from the helicopter and go into the store, and then all evening, every 15 minutes, we would draw you could put your name in for a draw, and if you won the draw, you were able to buy a Nintendo Wii. And we got all kinds of people to come to the store.
Who won?
Well, a whole bunch of people, because we had 60 of them, so a whole bunch of people got to buy one.
What was people's reaction when they won one?
Oh, they were so excited because everybody was trying to get a Wii.
What were people's reaction when they didn't win one?
Oh, well, those people might have been a bit disappointed, but that's how things go, right?
Yeah.
So, that year we didn't get a Wii, but we got one the next year in 2007, and then a couple years later, along came this guy right here. He was born.
He was born and he was well asleep, but now...
And so we got a Nintendo Wii, and when you got to be probably 3 or 4, we got some games. Your first game was a Cookie Monster game.
Oh, yeah.
And it had a Big Bird and a Cookie Monster holder that you could put the Wiimote in. Mm-hmm. But then you were a little older when you started to get into the Wii. Now, Maisy wants you to tell the story about what happened to our Wii.
And why we don't have it anymore.
Why don't we have a Wii anymore?
Okay, I'm going to tell the story because it happened to me. So
first of all,
in order to tell you the story, I need to tell you a little bit about the Wii menu's UI. So there's something called the disc channel that you go when you insert a disc.
And it shows the game.
Yes.
And you want it, you click on it.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to tell the story.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened? So I thought that, if I put 3 discs in at a time, I think they were Disney Infinity, Wii Sports, and Mario Kart Wii. I had the bright idea that if I put 3 of them in at the same time, that they would all 3 of them would have their own panels on the Wii, on the disc channel, and then it would be select your game, Disney Infinity, Wii Sports, and Mario Kart Wii. Although, no, we couldn't get them out, and then my dad told me, Joe, it's broken!
Yep, and that is how you broke the Wii. So, I think with that one, The Wii went on to be a huge success for Nintendo. It bailed Nintendo out of a problem, right? Because they weren't doing very well before the Wii.
Yeah, they dominated the handheld market, but the home console market.
Right. So the Wii revived Nintendo in the home console market, and that was all well and good. But they needed to have another big hit after the Wii. So our next episode next week, we're going to talk about what?
The Wii U
and its failure.
The Wii U. Well, can't tease people with that. They got to decide whether it's a failure themselves or not. But we're going to tell the story about it next week, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And guess what? When we tell the story of the Wii U, we get to tell the story of another console that Josiah broke.
I didn't break it.
Excuse me. I think I had to put together a new Wii pad for you.
Oh, all right.
So you're going to get to show how you have a custom Wii pad. And you can tell everybody why you have a custom Wii pad.
Oh, wait, you have a custom Wii pad?
Sort of.
Yeah.
And we will see you on the next episode of the GameCast.